All right. Thank you guys, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining us. We are here live on YouTube and on Twitch. I think some of our Twitch friends had asked us if we would do them a favor and go live on Twitch. And of course, we accommodate our Scuttle buddies. If you guys are on Twitch, thank you very much for joining us. We are the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, part of the Red 5 Network, a family of podcasts that are really swell podcast people. And I encourage you to, if you are not familiar with the Red 5 Network, give us a listen or go check us out on Red 5 Network, the number 5, not the letter, not spelled out, because we can't spell with more than 3 words, 3 letters. Red5network.com. Thank you very much for joining us. We're going to talk a little bit about some stuff. I am joined in the broadcast tonight by my fellow. I need more hands here to kind of push all these buttons here. Yes, that's right. We are joined tonight by our some fellow Chicago podcasters. WSTR, some integral members of the podcast family here. WSTR, Todd Hoffman and Miss Heather Hawk Awesome there. How's it going, everybody?
Hey.
Doing great, man. Doing great.
Todd, more and more every time I see a picture of you posted with the kids, you look more and more like my brother. Okay. You sure you're not Mexican?
I'm positive. Yeah. With the last name of Hoffman, I'm not Mexican, I promise.
Well, I used to know one of my really good friends is Puerto Rican, and her last name is Hopgood. So.
Oh, okay. All right. There you go.
Figure.
Go figure.
The Hopgoods of Puerto Rico. But anyways, right. I digress. Welcome to Scarif Live. We are live on Twitch and YouTube on the Red 5 Network. Thank you very much for joining us. And this is going to be a lot of fun. We're going to talk about some really cool stuff. How is everybody? How's your day?
Yeah.
I've had better, so I'm really excited to get into talking Star Wars and kicking off the weekend here, man. So
yeah, that's right. A 3-day weekend. I'm very excited. I think I tweeted, I direct message. We're on a chat together. And I think I asked somebody, it must be nice to actually have a 3-day weekend where you're not working. Unfortunately, I work most weekends in my line of work. But you know what, though? I love what I do, and, gets me away from planting trees. But thank you guys, everybody. We see some folks in the chat, Charles and Charlie, and who else is in there? Mr. Rez, how's it going? How is everybody? Thank you very much again for joining us. So we had this news a while ago, but first, before we get into our main topic, which really is about cosplay, I really wanted to talk to you guys, especially you guys, because as far as cosplay goes, you guys are right up there. You're experts. You guys have fun. We've been at it together.
I don't know if we're experts, but
yeah. Let's put quotes around that.
Yeah, exactly. But we've had some really great times, both from seeing all the stuff that you guys have done at C2E2, hanging out with you guys at C2E2, looking for Heather in the Jawa outfit.
Right. Yeah.
So for folks that don't know, it's a funny story. So I work in news, and I'm covering C2E2 last year, early in the year, and every Jawa that I came across, I would kneel down and say, "Heather, is that you?" And no answer.
It took a couple. It was
a very, very complicated situation, and you're gonna have to wear a name tag or something next time, because I was not having it. But between C2E2 and Star Wars Celebration, cosplay and having fun with the family, both your regular family and your Star Wars family, I think it's something that I wanted to kind of chat with you guys about. and really see, what your thoughts are on, especially now that the news has dropped that Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim has been canceled. And
Postponed
yeah, postponed. Well, it's
for
canceled this
like
year, but
another
another what, 2
year. Another year.
yeah, that's going to be hard for a lot of folks. I know a lot of folks had made plans to, head over to Anaheim and spend some time with some Star Wars nerds, and obviously for good reason. We all want to be safe and not,
Yeah.
contract anything, but. Here we are. But I wanted to ask you guys, because I know Charlie Skywalker is in the chat, and we've been seeing how much fun he's had. He just took a nice little drive to visit our friend Dominic Pace in Albuquerque. And I don't know if you saw the pictures. It was really cool. He met Dominic Pace, Mr. Gecko himself from The Mandalorian. And Charlie looks like he had a good time. And just to remind everybody, ScarifCon 2020 in less than 2 weeks here at Alley Cat Comics. Mr. Dominic Pace is going to, he's coming to Chicago, folks. Heading here to Chicago, so that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's going to be great.
I know Rob is really excited.
Hopefully, Ro, the whole world will not be shut down, and we can make it happen. Because we have to say our prayers and eat our vitamins this weekend. Because if everyone is stupid, then there will be no ScarifCon 2020.
But it's lucky. We are already accustomed to wearing one mask or another, so it's not
absolutely.
that much of a stretch when it comes to cosplay. But I know some of those stormtrooper masks don't filter out toxins, as they say. But
yeah.
I digress. So it's hard to believe, but things are changing, and hopefully, when we get to July 19th, we'll be able to enjoy hanging out with Dominic at Alley Cat Comics here in the Andersonville neighborhood in Chicago. And if you are listening to this or watching us, we encourage you to come out, because Dominic is a really swell guy.
Swell, yes.
Ditto. Agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
As I mentioned, Charlie Skywalker is in the chat. Charlie, how you doing? I know you guys had him on your show earlier in the week.
Literally Monday. So,
right? Yeah. So
it's only Thursday, so yeah, it's a hot second.
I was stuck in the chat and watching you guys, but that was a good topic as far as self-sacrifice. And
we're definitely gonna do a part 2. So we're gonna look at non-Jedi, because there's a lot of we had in the chat too. Like there's a lot of self-sacrifice that are non-Force users.
Oh, sure.
Just look at Rogue One, and you got a cast of characters right there that pretty much didn't make it out, but pushed it, to a better cause. And a lot of things wouldn't happen if Rogue One didn't happen, and everything around that. So we have a lot of X-wing pilots, Porkins, everybody. we got a lot of normal folk, non-Force users, really stepping up, and so I think it would be cool to do a sequel of that. But yeah, we had a great discussion with Charlie Skywalker there on just Jedi in general, and so it was fun. Check it out.
It is an interesting topic. I love listening to you guys talk about that. And you're right. Rogue One does have a cast of characters who are non-Jedi.
Don't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they don't make it, but they do it for a better thing, or better life, which is very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in Star Wars from the get-go. I mean, you guys talked about, old Ben Kenobi, who made the ultimate sacrifice and did what he did to be able to save, Luke and company.
Right. It pushes Luke, because he's not selfish anymore in a sense, and that really pushes him. Understands, oh, there's some skin in the game, you know, and I think that really pushes Luke on his hero's journey, you know.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think it's a big motivating factor.
Yeah.
We can't forget our little droid friend in the first film who sacrifices himself so R2 can complete his mission.
The red one.
That's right.
Just saying.
Yeah. And wasn't he the subject of one of the short stories, A Certain Point of View? The
Yes.
first book?
Yeah. R2 and him, you know, they work it out. And R5 sacrifices himself, which is fantastic.
They had a little discussion. They said, you know what, you got to step up and self-sacrifice.
It's like,
that's right. That's right.
I could pull the bad motivator, trick.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And these are really great lessons too that folks can kind of pick apart and examine. I'm glad you guys had that episode. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, it makes you a better person. Once and George kind of talked about this too. Like the Sith are selfish, they're self-centered, they only care about them. You look at the Emperor; he uses species, planets, resources, all for his master plan, and leaves a path of destruction. Where you look at somebody either a Jedi or a regular folk doing something more for the cause, I think really speaks volumes. And especially in today's environment, I think people could definitely learn about that and be a little bit less selfish and focus on bigger things.
Absolutely. Somebody just sent me a meme that said life is too short for us to be arguing with strangers on the internet.
Yeah, right.
And happens all the time. But sometimes we got to focus on what's really important. And it's good stuff, man.
Yeah, that's what Star Wars is all about, man.
That definitely is. Who's over there getting your attention there, Heather?
Oh.
Anybody that wants to come on camera? Meow. No.
My phone. Don't be.
Speak of which.
Multitasker.
There you go.
I haven't seen a cat.
Yeah.
In a little while.
They might make an appearance. They're fickle beasts.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, I've got two. So love it. So we I think the last time we actually saw each other was at C2E2. And that seems like a lifetime ago, but
it does. Before the dark times.
Before the dark times, yeah. I mean, that was probably the last time that any nerds got together anywhere here in Chicago, and everyone, because I think it was in April, right?
Yeah, no,
it was March.
It was
March.
February. Yeah,
I thought it was March. That's fine.
Yeah.
And I was mad too because C2E2 usually happens like end of April, going into May.
Right, yeah.
And then like after that C2E2, you got May the 4th, and it's like it just kind of and I was like, man, why is it in February? It's so early. And actually, it
worked out.
It worked out. It was the first and last troop I did, so it really worked out, which is great.
And that was a lot of fun finding you guys and hanging out with you guys and shooting some video. And maybe one day I'll put that together.
One day, maybe C2E2 20-year anniversary. We'll get that footage, man.
But I'll start putting that together because that was a lot of fun. I got tons of footage. And Todd, thank you very much for helping us do some interviews on that day. Yeah,
no, I became literally a stormtrooper reporter. That was great. It was fantastic.
Yeah, that was
a little side hustle. Yeah.
You never know what's happening at a convention, so
Absolutely. So I mean, I had teased this show when I started talking about how we're all dressed up and know where to go, and folks that do a lot of cosplaying. First of all, with you guys, obviously, you guys are knee deep in cosplay and the 501st and kind of doing the troop thing, and I think that's fascinating. Let me ask you this, both of you guys, Heather, what does it feel like when you go out and you interact with kids, with families, with folks that really love watching, people in costume. It's, I mean, I would include myself in it because it's fascinating. I think you never get tired of watching stormtroopers go back and forth, to and fro, or costumed people, and it's just such a great feeling. What does it feel like to be behind the eyes?
Yeah, there's something very magical, for many of us, and this speaks to the whole Behind the Bucket documentary, is there's so many characters where they're putting something over their head, where they're not a true face character. But I would argue as well for face characters that there's that moment. For me, it's when I put on the mask and like my hood, and I'm sure for Todd that once the helmet goes on, you're no longer yourself. There's something that happens where that you are now embodying something bigger than yourself. And so one of my favorite things about trooping and just being out there is there's generally like 4 different types of people that you interact with.
Four?
Well, at least that I have noticed. I'm sure there's a lot more, but you can kind of group them into, you've got the parent who's like, oh, it's the character from the movie for their kid.
They look at it like a TIE fighter pilot. They're like, oh, Darth
that's
Vader.
Darth Vader. Yeah.
Right. Shut up.
I get called Ewok a lot, which is kind of comical.
Or Jedi.
I've been called a Jedi once. That was great. Then you've got your parents who know everything and that are training their children the correct way, in the Force of Star Wars, which is great. And then you've got your kids who know you. And so they will come up to you and are just like, this is amazing. And, and then you've also got your parent, the adults who become that 6-year-old on Christmas morning for like 2 minutes when,
well, no, they start off way too cool. That's the thing. They're
that's the thing. Yeah, they're like, oh, that's cool, man. And then you're like, do you want a photo? And then they're like, yeah. and that's fun that there is that opportunity to let them go back to something that they love, that takes them away from the responsibilities. There's no bill paying. There's no, cooking dinner that night. It's just a great fun opportunity to just really connect with people on this bigger level. And there's no politics, there's no fights on social media, there's no guy girl color of skin. It is just Star Wars characters connecting people together for a greater purpose. And I think that's the beauty of cosplay as a whole, but then specifically within the Star Wars world. It's fun. I mean, obviously, have I made a few kids cry? Yeah.
Absolutely. Right. No.
It's the glowing eyes. It freaks them out. So some of my most tender moments are when you've got that little kid who's like, and so then you just you give them your little trading card, and they usually, some of them take it, some of them don't. And I do the turn over comment because then my picture's on the back of it. And once I do that, that parent's like, I know what you're trying to tell me. And she's like, look, that's who's inside. And the next thing I know, I'm getting little high fives from those little kids. Like, that's right. We've made that connection. I'm not scary. I don't steal droids. I won't steal you. It's fine. So
that's one of the things that pleasantly surprised me. And I've been to other celebrations even before Chicago. And but Chicago was kind of unique because Chicago was the first celebration post The Last Jedi and post everybody complaining about something or other. Exactly, headbutting about one thing or another regarding the sequel trilogy and this and that. And there were people that were kind of, I would say
Ryan Johnson ruined my life. People.
Yeah, I mean stuff like that, and on both ends. I mean, there were people that. Oops, I think we lost Todd. But there were people that that were kind of apprehensive about getting together with Star Wars fans in general. Hold on a second. Let's bring him back. What do you got? That cheap plan?
I hit logged in, and that was a bad idea.
You canceled yourself out.
Yeah,
But
I canceled myself out.
I was just saying how even before that, people were a little bit apprehensive about showing up at a Star Wars celebration. People didn't know what to expect when people were fighting amongst themselves on Twitter. But when I got there, I saw none of that.
None of that happened.
I even saw some of the folks that were pretty, crappy to other folks. But it seemed like everybody was just enjoying themselves. Everybody was united in the one thing that they were all there to enjoy, which was Star Wars. And obviously, you're not gonna, spend so much money on something that you hate. It just doesn't make sense. But it was maybe, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it was very, surprising in a good way how there was just none of that. There was no fighting. There was none of that stuff. Even post, like I said, post The Last Jedi. So, kudos to the fans for behaving, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, Heather, that's a great point. The connection that you make with people, and obviously having walked with you guys, I love seeing heads turn. Especially during that stormtrooper parade when I was flanking you on your 6. It was
only if we had that footage roll. That would have been great.
Soon, my friend. Soon.
No, yeah, that was fun.
We have a question. Charlie Skywalker was asking, how long does it take to create a costume? And obviously, we all know that the 501st is very particular in the way that costumes are created and are accepted. One of the things that I love about cosplaying is just enjoy yourself, even if you're not going to be part of 501st or anything like that. I think it's a mindset. Like you said, Heather, when you put the mask on, you do become something completely different. Todd, you had a thought on that?
Yeah, I was going to say the reason the 501st is like so particular, or the Rebel Legion, is that it's trying to be screen accurate. And so there's a certain level of quality because, again, you're kind of representing the license at that point. So that's why it's a little bit more particular. But again, cosplay in general, I mean, yeah, have fun with it. And again, same thing with the 501st. I mean, you're having fun with it. It's just the reason that it's that is because, first of all, you wouldn't be part of the 501st if it wasn't screen accurate. And then you're representing the license. So it's important that, believe me, there's enough Star Wars nerds to know, like, oh, that Greebly is not in the right spot on this side. And this, so it's important to make sure that, it looks like that character, and again, have respect for the license as well. So I think that's the only difference. I mean, cosplay in general, it's definitely, you should pick something that you love and you want to portray. I mean, again, you can buy a $5 costume at, Halloween party, or you can spend a lot of money. And, if you ever seen some of those cosplay champions, like at Celebration, San Diego, C2E2, I mean, there's some people got some mad skills and a lot of time. So yeah, it's just, I would say with cosplay in general, just like pick something that you relate to, or a character you relate to, and then kind of start there. And, again, it could be really expensive, or it doesn't have to be, So.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, you guys talk about screen accuracy, but you guys are nuts. You guys are like beyond screen accuracy. You guys, taking a look at some of the outfits, especially your partner, the AT-AT driver that was with us. That day.
Yeah, Joe, yeah,
dude. I mean,
it's legit.
It's beyond legit. I mean,
yeah.
Again, I know, I know a lot of times, and again, talking about Dave Filoni and needing to have a couple of extra stormtroopers, but there was no budget to make new stormtrooper outfits. So what does he do? He calls the 501st and ships folks over to the set of the location of the Mandalorian, and everybody's like, "Oh my god!" I mean, that's what we're talking about here. It's
and they were teaching the actors how to hold a blaster. Yeah.
yeah. But so before you jumped off, Todd, I asked Heather about what it's like, once you do put that helmet on. Talk a little bit about what it's like for you, especially, we walked together as when you were dressed up as a stormtrooper, and it was an amazing feeling, just me sitting next to you and walking and watching everybody. But what does it feel like for you?
First of all, it's hot.
Yeah.
Oh,
plastic,
that's a good point.
Yeah, plastic doesn't breathe. So all these people, complain about wearing a mask, like just be in a TK for 4 hours in the sun, and we'll trade notes, But I personally, the reason I chose like a faceless character, in a sense, I don't really
because you like making faces at people as they walk by?
Right. No, I'm seriously smiling most of the time under the bucket, But I think part of it is just what Heather was saying is like you're in character and always trying to come up with lines both in movie or relevant to the situation and trying to spin it as a stormtrooper. And I find a little creativity and trying to make that happen. I think that's fun for me, but the faceless character for me is just like, I'm a stormtrooper, and that, and it's easily recognizable. I'm going to put a little stuff on so I know when people take pictures, oh, that was me. But, I want to be a little different, but not too different. I just like, for me, when I was a kid, that's the first thing that gravitated. I'm like, I love what the stormtrooper looked like. And now that I get to do that, it's been the most like rewarding thing from a Star Wars perspective that I've ever done. Cause I feel like I get to geek out, I get to also, but then I also get to kind of give back. And I think that's very important. That's one part of cosplay that gets kind of overlooked, is that there's an opportunity to kind of give back and put a smile on somebody's face. And as Heather said, there's 4 types of people, 5 types of people. There's a lot of different types of people that really do enjoy, cosplaying or seeing people cosplay. So I understand what you're saying, Ro. Like it's fun. Like I just love interacting with people, and some people get it and some people don't, and that's fine too, but every once in a while you can crack that person that is, a little stoic and not like, nah, it's okay. But usually just go behind them and scare them, and it's fun. So
it's funny because the people that are like, no, that's okay. Yeah. I think they're lying. I think they're lying because, like I said, it's such an experience to watch stormtroopers do their thing. I mean,
right. Well, honestly, what Roy was kind of alluding to earlier, like at C2E2, what we did is we basically had Darth Vader line up and had the classic TKs go behind him and had like a little parade, and we just walked the floor, and we had two or three Imperial officers, like, I forget what they were saying. They're like,
oh, yeah, move aside, make way for Lord Vader.
So it was a lot of fun, but
I guess I have proof, and I promise I'll put that video together.
This podcast is motivating you to get that video done, because we're talking about it right here. But some people, like, you could hear them, like some people are like, Star Wars, what do they think they are, and then someone's like, oh, and then like everyone, like some people are like, like,
oh yeah, no, everybody parted ways. They're like,
you kind of, or you have some people like, I know at one point they didn't care, they just stood there. So we had to like kind of move the line, and it's fine, it's fine. Like people, like, I think that's the interesting about Comic-Cons or wherever, whatever conventions you go to. There's lots of different niches, like so many different levels, like, and I think that's where it's fun to kind of experience that. And some people are like, Star Wars, like, what is that? And you're like, where have you been the last 43 years? But yeah, so it's weird, like just seeing the other different, niche kind of things out there. Clearly some of the things I don't even know. I'm like, I feel like I am a super nerd, but I'm like, dude, I don't even know is, you know. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
Heather, you were talking about connection when we were talking, and it's definitely one of those cool things. A quick story: when I first got my Darth Vader suit here, my son I think was like 6 years old, and we went trick or treating, and I had it on. And my wife thought I was nuts, but we still had fun. We went around the neighborhood, walking around, and again, you know, a lot of these masks are very difficult to see in the daytime, let alone dusk. But I remember
low light.
no light. I remember a family, a husband and wife, coming towards me, and the little like baby girl was kind of like walking up towards me, and I stopped and I looked down. And the mom went to go grab the baby, pick it up, and basically I can hear her say as she walked past me, she goes, "Sweetheart, that's Darth Vader. We'll tell you about him later in life." And I was like, that was like totally worth it, because I realized, you know, I mean, people know who these characters are, and obviously kudos to George Lucas and the whole franchise for, you know, putting that language in the lexicon. So it's it was really, really wonderful, tender moment between a child and the Dark Lord of the Sith.
Yes.
Darth Vader's an enigma, right? You know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But we got another question from Rural Farm Boy. Can you guys talk about how you guys got started in cosplay? Heather, let's go with you.
Sure. Well, I guess it's pretty safe to say that I just love getting dressed up. I don't really need a reason. It helps though, because then you become slightly more normal. But I was for sure the kid that every Halloween I'd be the one that went to school in a costume, whether it was cool or not. Mom taught me how to sew, so you know that kind of expanded some of my options and things of that nature. And then as I got older, I got introduced to the Renaissance Fair circuit, and that just changed everything. I've got like 15 outfits for the Ren Fair. I know it's a thing. And so there was definitely that. And then I remember you know, seeing Phantom Menace for the first time in theaters. That was my first Star Wars film in a theater, just based on my historical experience. But seeing
A whole other thing, right?
that's a different story, different day, blah blah blah. But seeing Queen Amidala and being like, that is what I want to look like.
That's cool. Yeah.
And so it really opened up. I did costumes in college for the productions. So I was always in the mode of dressing people up. I've got my Civil War dress that I create. My mom helped me sew for a production. There's just something about being in a corset and sitting in a hoop dress. It changes how you interact with people. And then I have a steampunk outfit that I wore to my very first C2E2 experience. And it's just fun when people stop you and they're like, wow, that's really cool. And, you know, there is sort of for as much as you don't always want it to be, and you don't want to be that person, you also are like, thanks. Yeah, I know that I'm cool.
Sure.
Yeah, it's fine. But it wasn't really until I started hanging out with Todd, and I'm not blaming Todd in any capacity.
Yeah, please don't.
Oh, no.
Please don't.
I didn't realize there were like organizations about cosplay. Like I didn't realize there was the 501st or the Rebel Legion, you know, the Mando mercs or whatever they're called.
Not merch.
Merches.
They have merch too. But
Merchandising, it's a thing. That was for you, Aaron Julian. And that it could be a thing. It wasn't just something that you did casually. You know, when it came time to do C2E2 this year, I was talking with my friend Deb, and we were like, she's like, I kind of want to go dressed up. And I'm like, all right, what do we want to do? And she's like, well, we just started brainstorming, and we decided to do this, like feminine take on some Avengers characters. And so that was me like putting an outfit together, and she did her outfit. And then it was fun just for people to kind of be like, wow, look at you. And, oh, that's a great idea. Or, hey, can I get your photo? Or, hey, how did you make that? And then that was really where it's turned into the other type of connection point. When you start connecting with other people, how did you make that? How did you make yours? And, oh, let's talk about that. And yeah, so that was sort of, I think that's kind of then where I'm at now. And then, I may or may not have bought fabric to make. Yeah.
More
man.
stuff.
Yeah.
More stuff. Yeah. More stuff.
So I bought fabric. I'm going to work on an Imperial officer little hat this weekend just to kind of dip the toe into, because I need something when I drive my mouse droid. So
Exactly.
Obviously.
Obviously. You mentioned Ren Fair for those of you, for those people that are not familiar with Ren Fair, and I love that one because it is also very
fair.
it's also very immersive. You walk around there, and there's knights walking around. I love when I think around 5 o'clock, Death walks around the fair.
Best.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in the Chicagoland area. So we are probably specifically talking about the Bristol Renaissance Fair in Kenosha, Wisconsin.
Hey there.
Well, it's kind of Minnesotan, but
yeah. But #1 rated Renaissance Fair for several years. So, but yeah, the Death Parade comes out. So good.
They also have a time travel day, right? That's the next time I'm gonna go.
Yeah. So then, So
I
each
didn't know
week,
about that.
each weekend has a theme. So some themes are, pirate themed weekends, even though the time of pirates and the time of the Renaissance Fair conflict. But we don't care about that.
Americans
about
don't
that.
know history. It doesn't matter.
It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
Nerdum is a thing.
doesn't matter.
But then they do kind of fantasy weekend, or kind of opening it up to other things. And so that's where the 501st actually comes to the fair. And that's when you start to see, stormtroopers in kilts and other fun things. I was actually figuring out how to Renaissance up my Jawa, but then the fair got canceled. So
There you go. Damn you, COVID. I'm gonna make a Captain Kirk Wrath of Khan meme. COVID.
Right. Or just make a YouTube clip where it's like 20 minutes long of just like him, instead of saying Khan, it's like COVID.
Exactly. So those I used to love going to the Ren Fair. I haven't been there probably since early college days. I used to go with some friends, but we parted ways. But that would be cool. Yeah, next time.
Well, next time when the world is flatlined and
safe again.
We're back, and the dinosaurs are back. We'll go hit up Ren Fair or something.
Dinosaurs.
Well,
I'm an excellent tour guide of the fair. Just as an FYI.
But so getting back to
this question,
this
question.
Yeah. I don't even know.
So
you asked how we got into cosplay. So
yeah. And I know from listening. I know from listening to
Charles
you guys
too much. Charles and Pat, they get squirreled away very.
They get
quickly.
squirreled, yeah, totally. Somebody got to turn that laughing gas down too. So.
right, yeah.
But I know, Heather, you're kind of one of the newer WSTRers for the most part. Is that correct? Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, yeah. So Aaron and Todd, started it with 2 other guys. I did my first episode 3 years ago. As
a guest, in a pinch.
Thanks, Facebook.
And she hasn't left yet.
I did a guest spot, and then I kind of came in for a couple like pinch hitting episodes, and then I sort of just.
I officially asked you. I said it.
No, you did. Yeah. I got knighted. It was a whole ceremony. It was
nice.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
You crept into our hearts and stayed
Yeah.
here.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and then Carla joined, and then I lost all of my cosplay street
Yeah,
cred because
Unfortunately, Carla is not feeling well tonight, and she was going to join. She is really she blows us out of the water. You know,
Yeah, I've seen
she
some of her
literally has 8 approved costumes between the 501st and the Rebel Legion, and is currently working on 2 more. And she's only been in the Legion, both Legions, like a year and a half, and she's already got 8 approved, and she's ridiculous. But if you come on our show, I send out. We have cards, and so if you come on our show, I'll send you cards. So, or if you got some cool questions, we'll send you some cards too. So, but yeah, she has like 8 cards. So
Nice.
it's crazy. Yeah, she's crazy.
So Todd, how did you get into cosplaying? And then cosplay is a combination, a combo word for what?
Costume play.
nailed
There
it.
you go. So how did you? We should do that. Remember an electric company?
I was gonna say screen
Right, yeah. You're dating yourself, but
Play.
play. Yeah.
People know I'm old.
Yeah, right. So for me, what really the introduction was actually Celebration 2. So Celebration 2 was in Indianapolis. So
I was there.
I was there too, dude. We probably were in line together, and we didn't even know it, man.
Yeah.
I had hair back then, so that's why you probably don't notice me.
Funny. I didn't recognize. That's why I didn't recognize you.
My red arm. So I'm waiting in line to get into the convention one day of Celebration 2, and I look to my left, and there's a whole bunch of stormtroopers lined up for a group photo, and I'm like, "What is that? What's going on here?" And so took some pictures, and then I'm just like, I have to be part of that because I'm like, I saw a bunch of stormtroopers, a couple of Vaders, a couple of bounty hunters because Attack of the Clones was coming out for Celebration 2, so saw some Jangos and all this stuff, and I'm just like, that looks awesome, and I want to do that. So that was kind of my first introduction, not only to a bigger, larger community because this was before the internet. Where a larger community where it's like, oh, these are the people that actually, talk about Star Wars all the time. What is this? So that was my first introduction to kind of cosplay, and just like people dressing up, and particular Star Wars was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. And then, went to Wizard World in Chicago, which is a big one for us, and got to see more. Obviously superheroes, all that kind of stuff. You're like, okay, this is pretty cool, but it took me from that point of 2002, I didn't, it took me a while to finally take the plunge and do it. But I think that, that's how I got into it. And then as I got really serious, like, all right, I'm saving some cash, I'm doing this, I would go to the conventions, I would go to the 501st booth, just start asking a ton of questions, and that's the one thing you're going to find out. Like, there is a lot of great people that want to, basically get you the gateway drug to get you in, So there's a lot of really great, helpful people. And of course, you can't answer all the questions at a comic book convention or whatever, but there's great resources online. If you're going 501st or Rebel Legion, there's a whole costume reference library that you can look at and see what that is. And it always helps to know a friend of a friend, and do kind of that definitely helps. It definitely helps. But with any cosplay, it's just like you got to pick what something you like, and then find that community or find a common person that you can kind of bounce some ideas off of, and then choose it. So again, depending on how much money you want to spend, what kind of character is, those all kind of play in factors as far as what you want to do for cosplaying.
Yeah, and you guys mentioned, there's a wide gamut as far as cost with costumes.
Yeah.
Anything from, super basic and cheap to super expensive and holy crap. I I talked with Raul Mares from Mexico City. He is
Yeah.
part of the 501st down
Did a
there
video
in
maker, right?
yeah. So I know he was talking to me about pricing and even in pesos it's mucho dinero.
I believe it. I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what do you
again, like
guys?
if you're doing a hero character like Darth Vader is primo, but then some of the lower, lesser characters, again, it's all about parts, how much fabric, how much. The big thing right now is 3D printing. Like there is a lot of people that, that you're not getting it, it's hard enough to find, okay, who's a good supplier of stuff. You're not going on eBay, those kind of things. You want to stay from those, eBay and, like some guy down the street, like, oh yeah, I got this costume and it's like a rubies. You're like, no, that ain't good. That's not going to get you anywhere. But I would say 3D printing is like huge. And some people have printed their whole stuff just 3D printed, which is fantastic. So just bring it to the home. So if you're technical enough to do that, or people kind of share those files, you can 3D print anything right now.
Yeah, and I just saw one of Carla's Instagram posts. She started showing us a few pictures of a shore trooper, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe it's TK426 from Scarif base that still isn't at his post.
Yeah,
But,
so we just had her friends on, Justin and Naomi, and they're big into they basically are drinking the same Kool-Aid because they also too just recently joined both the Rebel Legion and the 501st, and they got like 20 something between them, and he's working on a book, which is crazy. It's just I forget what latch hook. Am I saying that right, Heather? Or
Yep, latch hook
where
in.
you're individually like sewing the suit and everything. He's crazy talented doing, he just 3D printed a Zori Bliss for his wife and Naomi, and now he is printing Carla's short trooper, all 3D printed. So, I mean, again, it's who you know. I got a guy that knows a guy,
Yeah. I definitely want to point out a comment that Todd you just made for a Wookiee. For those people who don't know, this is not fur fabric. This is mesh that then they are like hand placing all of that fur.
Right. So that's where the
like the different layers come into play.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I mean, that's basically how Hollywood does it.
Yeah.
And so you can get the materials potentially relatively inexpensive, but there's a time factor that adds to all of that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so I would say if you're interested in cosplay or thinking about it, obviously a little different now with everything going on. But I mean, the internet is your friend. You can start looking and trying to find things. And obviously with the socials, Instagram and Twitter, you start looking, you can find stuff. You can find stuff. And people are more than willing to kind of help and guide you in the right direction. But the main thing, and we haven't talked about it, it's a 3-letter word, FUN. It's for fun. Have fun. I think part of it, and obviously with anything, there's always going to be some people that are the elite, and it needs to be like, even with the 501st, there's different rankings that you can get. I don't even know. I don't even pay attention because I'm never going to get there. I don't care. But, the screen accurate is like this Legionnaire type thing. And you know what? The kid's going to see something. They don't even know that, whatever, you're a 5-star. Who cares? I'm just trying to put a smile on that kid's face. It doesn't matter what that is. And so, I mean, you could do that. Again, I knock on rubies. You could do that on a rubies, or you could do that in a full, 3D printed kit. It doesn't matter. The whole point of this thing and why we're doing it is for fun. And so if you can't have fun with it, then that's probably not for you. But I think the idea is just like trying to find that niche. If you like superheroes, I mean, I couldn't tell you how many Deadpool iterations I've seen, and each one makes me laugh every time, or Harley Quinn, you know, or Joker or Batman, you know, like there's so many. I mean, you could pick a rabbit hole and you could keep going down, you know. Obviously we're a Star Wars podcast, we're Star Wars nerds, and so we kind of gravitate to the 501st or Rebel Legion. But I mean, even with the Mando Mercs, like the cool thing about the Mando Mercs is like it's all custom, and then you kind of create your own character around that, and that's, you name your character and you're part of that thing. And I thought it was ridiculously cool at Celebration. Like they literally called out, they had a Mando Merc section in the grand hall thingy bobber doohickey thing, and they called them out during the presentation of Mandalorian. I thought that was like fantastic, you know.
Yeah.
And they're all raising their helmets and speaking Mando, and you know, it's great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I remember that.
I was there, man.
I was there, man. So, real fast before we get into this, the next discussion point, I know, you know, Rural Farm Boy had just mentioned it's not about me, it's about we, and that's definitely a true statement. Yeah, for sure. But getting back to as far as like real fast, cost, you guys talking about, you know, 3D printing has really transformed the cosplay industry. You can create props, you can create, you know, accessories, pretty much, you know, better than stuff that you can purchase on eBay or stores or things like that. And really, people get really complex by, you know, 3D printing certain, you know, pieces that go together, and they craft them. And like you said, Heather, that takes a lot of time. But what are the cost differences in creating an entire outfit, let's say a shore trooper, 3D printed wise, versus
Are you asking for a friend, bro, or are you?
Yeah, I'm asking for a friend who happens to be me.
Right, yeah. It's so hard to say. I hate to put a dollar amount on it, but I would say.
Is it more advantageous to find somebody that can 3D print your outfit, even though, I mean, are we talking about pennies on the dollar, or a certain percentage of savings that way?
Yeah, there's definitely savings when you have a 3D printer, right? Because if you screw up, it's on your dime, but there's not a lot of, I mean, 3D printing takes time. That's the whole point, you know. A little slow, but there's a couple great companies out there that, you know, when you find that niche, they do. I mean, there's some people, this is their business. They have the molds, it's legitimately accurate, and they're pulling every week, and you know, you can get all kinds of different armor, you know, and sometimes you have to get the armor for one person, and then some other supplier does all the soft goods. And soft goods is basically, that's the geek term for the underneath stuff, you know, or the things that are, you know,
the skivvies.
The skivvies, yes, the skivvies, yeah. And so I think, again, it's just dependent on the character. You mentioned Darth Vader. Darth Vader is going to cost you a pretty penny, because, again, that is something that the common folk know what Darth Vader is, and if you're off a little bit, they're like, "That ain't my Darth Vader.
That ain't Darth Vader.
That ain't my Darth Vader."
That's like Chuck Vader.
Right, exactly. So, you know, again, it's just what costume you want, what kind you want, you know, and then you do the research, and like, okay, like, I got to get the boots from here, and I got to get the gloves from here, and I'm going to get the gun from here. And, you know, so it's almost, some of it is parted out where it's as far as that. And so, again, that adds up. So that's where we had Elena Strike on, and she's like huge into cosplay and more, you know, comic book stuff. And what was that app she mentioned, Heather?
Let me look.
Yeah, it was like a budgeting app, basically picking your character, and of course there's an app.
Cosplanner.
Oh, nice.
There you go.
Cool.
Yeah, so we don't get any checks from them, but it's like, you know, it's just an opportunity to you really have to budget it out, and, you know, or you don't, and you dump it on a credit card, that is fine too. Whatever fits your fancy, but, you know, the idea is like, if you want it quick and fast, it's going to cost you. If you want to take some time and really kind of part it out, maybe it'll take you a year or 6 months. So or like in Heather's case, you want to sew stuff. I mean, a lot of Elena and like Carla, they've sewn a lot of their different stuff, and that just doesn't come. You have to take time and to make it happen. So
I want it now.
well, if you want it now, then it's going to cost you like at least $2,000. So
Yeah.
And I think
and that's the funny thing. I just lost my train of thought. The cat distracted me.
I'm sorry.
Well,
No.
The other thing too, Ro, is like you can, if you get, I would say this too, like if you get into an organization like a 501st or Rebel Legion, there's also guys and girls that are trying to do the same thing. They're trying to flip, so they'll say, okay, I have this kit that I haven't really used and I want to get rid of it. And so they might say $550, boom, everything right here. And you're like, yep. And so
Done.
You get a lot of that kind of inside trading where they're trying to do something else, right? And so
put it on my Scarif card.
Well, right, but then you've got it.
Yeah, I'll gladly pay you next Tuesday, so.
But
You
yeah,
got people
and there's certain
that
things like Charlie Skywalker was talking about. There's certain things that you really can't 3D print. Like, he's waiting for boots for his TIE fighter pilot. So stuff like that, obviously you can't really 3D print. You have to kind of go back and look for those types of things the old-fashioned way and get real boots and have them either custom made or find something that is very close to specs. So it is a bit of a challenge when you come to those things. And like you guys said, I mean, each costume is different when it comes to complexity. But that's really cool.
Yeah, it goes back to our early point though. The payoff is like, no pun intended, it's priceless because you put all that work in, you're dedicated, but then you get to kind of show off the goods in a sense. And like I said earlier, it's all about putting a smile on people's faces and having fun about it. And, and then you get to have those pictures. You're like, dude, that was fantastic. What just happened? That was so cool.
Or you get to be on Channel 5 News.
Right. Yeah. I got interviewed by somebody from Rockford at C2E2 and, he did a Jedi mind trick on me. It's like that stuff is priceless. You couldn't tell, the 7-year-old Todd, like, oh, you're going to be on the news and you're going to do this. You're going to dress up as a stormtrooper. You get to walk next to Don West Rogue One tank in Joliet. And dude, and then you get to be on a card that, captures it and looks like you're in Scarif. You can't make that stuff up. And, those are opportunities that are just ridiculously cool, with like Weird Al, like a lot of the people, Weird Al asks all the local garrisons when he comes into town. He's like, hey, I need like 10 stormtroopers and a Vader and get to be on a concert. There's all these, it's just these weird kind of cool opportunities that pop up that you wouldn't even think about, when you're doing this kind of stuff. So it's fun.
Let me ask you guys this. Talk about personality, specifically you guys. There are certain people that are maybe a little shyer than most. I know that, obviously when you put a mask on, you change, but there's, a lot of people that still can't. That sort of thing within their own personality kind of holds them back from taking that step and becoming someone else. Is it easier for you guys, Heather, Todd? Are you guys shy in like? Is shyness in your nature? Do you guys like really transform once you get under the mask, or what? What do you guys think about just being shy and being a cosplayer? Do the two mix?
I think so.
Right.
Apologies. I suffer from some pretty crippling anxiety some days. And I remember my first troop, I actually kind of started crying because I was like, I can't do this. who thought this was a good idea?
Why did Chad tell me to get a Jawa? Why?
And then I had this beautiful gentleman by the name of Steve Jackson, who's part of the 501st Legion. And he's like, "Are you okay?"
Count Dooku.
Oh, he's like on point Count Dooku. He comes up to me and he's like, "Are you okay?" And, I had a friend with me, and I'm like, "I'm good. I've never done this before. So my anxiety has kicked in and I got to interact with people. And generally I like to avoid people. I'm an introvert. I don't, whatever." And he's like, "You're going to be fine." He's like, "The first person who comes up to you and sees you, it's all going to make sense." And I didn't totally get it at first, but it wasn't until I got myself. And then once I walked through the one door because of the location we were in, something came over me and I just knew I had to change my walking pattern.
It was Force.
It was the Force. I changed my walking pattern and I had that first little kid come up and give me a high five, and he was absolutely right. It changed why I was doing what I was doing. And I think what's fun and I would almost put money down, although I'm not really a betting kind of person, that just FYI, that a lot of cosplayers are probably introverts and potentially have a shy streak to them, and they're actually expressing who they really are through that cosplay, whether it's a mask or a face character. It's makeup or a wig or something, because then they don't have to be themselves per se. And that's what Todd's point is find a character that you love, because then you are going to be the most comfortable, and then you get to express part of who you are. I think it speaks to the first time I saw the guy with the pink shorts and the boom mic, like that's cosplay. And that's something that for him, he's like, "I think this would be fun. And I want to share this part of myself with this group of people and this was at Celebration, who were going to get it."
Yeah.
It's a deep cut.
It totally is. Like, who's this guy with the pink shorts, man?
Right. Which is why I'm fully prepared to see Pedro Pascal cosplays with a pillow from the voiceover work, just as an FYI. So,
I would argue that something like what you do, Todd, especially if you're an introvert and kind of shy and have anxiety, something like a stormtrooper would be a lot easier to do than something like Darth Maul, because you're still showing your face. People still kind of can know what your feelings are, what you're feeling at that moment. If somebody kind of looks at you funny or looks at you sideways and you start to get like that, like, "Oh my God, do I look stupid? What's going on?"
Right, yeah.
So it definitely takes a certain I guess personality to kind of get into that. But hopefully things like that aren't a big of an issue, especially when fans are among fans, and we all accept each other.
Right. It's kind of like a family. It's all accepting. Again, when you go to a larger convention where you have a mix of people, that are doing different cosplay or different things, it's still kind of a collective thing, and kind of a collective respect, So I think that's also what you got to kind of look at. And I would say too, surprisingly, I'm an introvert, but like, I think I used to be really scared about doing things like this or whatever. And it kind of cracks you out of your shell. And that's what, again, depending on who you are or what you want to be. I mean, a lot of the faceless characters, like you said, Ro, I mean, it kind of, you get to kind of hide behind, and then also, they don't see you crying when you're like, "This is the most amazing thing I've ever done." They don't have to see that. So there you go.
And it is interesting. Some of the face characters that I've interacted with do seem to be a little bit more extroverted and feed off of people differently it might not be as shy. And again, these are all blanket statements. I'm not putting people in categories. Don't ever do that. But it is an interesting, because even myself, I'm like, I don't know if I would ever be a face character. I don't know if that's something I would ever choose to do. But maybe the more I got comfortable with doing cosplay and things like that, would that change? Because now I'm in the community and I understand it. And so it's a
Right.
learning thing. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely easier just to kind of, if you need to have that safety blanket to hide behind a mask, you can just, you're there. I mean, nobody sees your actual face, so it's easier just to kind of, if you are feeling a little odd, to just continue what you're doing behind the mask. But yeah, it's very interesting, even from a kind of a psychological aspect, how cosplayers are. Um, obviously there's the masked cosplayers, and there's the folks that like to wear makeup and really
Yeah.
go all out. But yeah, Todd, I mean, you are like totally shy. You're out there doing your thing.
The thing, yeah, yeah. I mean, again, it's all dependent, what character resonates the most with you, and then just kind of focus on that. And I think a couple other tips is really, you got to understand also your limitations of your costume. Like, what is that? And so for each one is different. And so you have to, you can't, be dancing off, your stuff if you have limitations or walking, and, sometimes like, I can't really walk around in this thing, or, I need to.
How's that sitting down thing working for you?
I can't sit. So like in a
Oh,
2K,
yeah.
like I just can't sit down. So once I'm suited up, I'm going until I can't do it anymore, and so you have to understand, like, what does that look like? What's the comfort level? That will all play into what you do. When you're doing something large as a convention, that's a couple days, a lot of cosplayers, they are like, this is what I'm doing Thursday. This is what I'm doing Friday. This is what I'm doing Saturday, and you have to kind of, plan on your day. Like, am I going to cosplay? Am I going to take in the floor? Am I going to panels? What's your vice? Once you kind of figure that, and like, oh no, I need to spend money today. And so like, well, what are you going to get? Like, you have to kind of plan that out and determine, okay, what days I'm cosplaying, understand, where you're going to go. Those are all kind of key factors in how you want to kind of plan your time and plan your day and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, it seems like planning is very important. I mean, you and I walked. We got like what 4,500 steps in during C2E2 because we couldn't sit still. I know we were walking all over the place. I don't know who had the easier job, you with your armor or me with the video camera on my shoulder. But
right.
yeah, but as far as planning, I mean, getting back to my first Halloween in the Darth Vader outfit, I think at the end of the evening when it did start to become a little dark, obviously you're breathing inside the mask, the lenses get fogged up.
Yeah.
Your wife just walks like blocks ahead of you and leaves you alone. I mean, these are these are things that you have to plan out with, especially at a con. I mean, can you guys talk a little bit about planning those days, especially if somebody wants to cosplay and they're kind of by themselves? Obviously,
Yes.
it's a more of a difficult thing. I mean, you guys had a nice group. You help each other between, you guys and Carla and Aaron and stuff like that. So it's easier for groups to do that. Do you guys, what do you tell folks that want to be able to do this by themselves that may not have a nice little support group that are just starting out?
Yeah. I would then say do short periods, and again, like, know where you need to want to go, or where the action's at, depending on the con, depending on the event. You want to know where, are you walking, where are you suiting up? Like, you're suiting up the bathroom, are you suiting up 10 miles street, by the car, you're doing a parking lot change. I mean, those are all kind of key factors in what you're going to do and how that looks. And are you doing a lot of makeup up front, so you're doing that at home. So when we get there, it's a quick change. I mean, those are all kind of things that you have to kind of play into. And the reason you do that is that you also want to have fun. So those logistics kind of play into it. Like, again, like with I hate to use CT2, well, because it was the only con that I've been to this year. But, so like the parade, I knew that we were going to do the Vader parade at 11. So I had to be, as far as like taking time to suit up, if you're really fast, you could do it in 20 minutes. If you're really slow and jibber and jabber and you're like, okay, I need an hour to kind of suit up and make sure that I get in there. So I was make sure I was back by the 501st booth by 10 so I could start suiting up. And then obviously if there's other nerds that are doing the same thing, space is the thing. And so you have to also kind of play that out, especially depending on your costume. With the Stormtrooper, I got 20 something pieces I got to put all on, and it takes some time, but then there's other people. I just took off my coat and I'm ready to go. So, you have to kind of like just figure what that is and how that plays into. So somebody that is just doing it by himself, I would say, like, are you meeting with somebody or are you just going to do your thing? What does that look like? Where do you need to go or where do you want to go? And just plan it out accordingly, how simple your outfit is or that kind of thing. So.
And Master Skywalker in the chat definitely has some. Yes, for sure. But he's been commenting again. I'm not surprised. He's a wise Jedi Master, and he says not to be afraid to introduce yourself to other people. You might find that they're thinking the same thing you are. So great advice, Master.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess if I can just share just a couple comments as someone who, among her friend group, both pre and post this podcast, I mean, outside of Todd, obviously, I'm the one in my group who will dress up and walk around with other people in civilian clothing. And so...
Like on a regular day or at a con?
You do some Disney.
Okay.
I remember for my 40th birthday, my girlfriends did a scavenger hunt birthday party for me, and we all dressed up in costumes. And you could definitely tell costume levels of like who was a costumer and who was not so much a costumer and the different levels. And I mean, I'm like dressed as Wicket, and I've got I'm wearing a leopard print shirt with cat ears, and I am not dissing. I would never want anyone to feel uncomfortable, but that's just kind of who I am. But be like, if you're going to an event where it's multiple days, go your first day not dressed and map out the area so that way exactly kind of where everything is before you put yourself in a vulnerable position.
Yeah. The hot spots.
Yeah. Wear comfortable shoes.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to put that out there. I understand the heels look great, but maybe for like an hour, but maybe not the whole day. I learned that lesson the hard way. And
ow.
Yeah. And then just to speak a little bit more into Todd's timing, because there are photographers and people who think you're going to look really cool. If you're like, I know it's only going to take me 10 minutes to walk from that location to that location, you need to build in like an additional 20 minutes because people are going to stop you and want to take a photo with you. And then once one person asks for a photo,
you're stopped.
Line forms.
How many times were we stopped when we walked from the back to the front, Todd?
Yeah. I'm like, hey, let's just go up the front and whatever.
7 hours later.
Right. We finally made it and like no one's there. It's like, oh. Well, to speak on that too, like sometimes, I mean, I would say 90% of the time, we would always stop for a picture. But like, I know like my buddy Mike, who is a Wook, sometimes there's no fans in the Wook and it's already hot and he knows his limit. And then once his limit's hit, he's got to go and he's not going to stop. And so like, I understand sometimes those experiences are not pretty, but that the guy's dehydrated, or he can't take one more picture, or sometimes too, like we'll do like a group photo or something like that, and that's very specific, and we got to get everybody up front or wherever that location is, and we got to go. And so like sometimes that's where you're like, I can't stop, so to Heather's point, it's also just important to kind of map everything out, figure out where those things are, figure out where those meetups are, because that happens all the time too. Like there's a DC meetup, a Marvel meetup, or whatever those kind of meetups, and just find out where that is. And if you want to be part of that, you don't want to miss those kind of cool opportunities to, as Jedi Luke said, that you want to meet each other, common things, and next thing you know, you're best friends and your Twitter buddies and Instagram.
And then you're doing a podcast together live.
Yeah, you're doing right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're literally have a microphone. You're just interviewing people. I'm like, what am I doing? What's going on here? Yeah.
But don't be afraid to be the one friend in the group who gets dressed up, and everybody else, or just do it. Just go and have fun.
Excellent advice. And having fun is what cosplay seems to be all about. And not only you, but people around you. I mean, again, walking with you at C2E2, it was just an amazing experience just to have everybody, kind of turn around and point and stuff. So that was really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Like in a good way, like pointing in a good way.
Pointing like,
pointing. Yeah. Hey, I'm laughing with you.
With you, right? Exactly.
Yeah. So I want to, just to end up, I want to ask you guys a question, and I've got my friend here who's got the questions.
The child's going to read the question. Okay.
The child is going to read the question, but I want Heather and Todd. I want you guys to think about this, but also at the end, this is the question that we're going to use. Really to give away this custom the child from the Mandalorian that I got I got made. It's a little pod, it's a little crocheted pod. I've got a couple of them, so we can pick two people in the chat. You guys can pick two people that would be lucky enough to win that. Here at Scarif Podcast, we love giving stuff away because we love seeing the smiles, and that's what it's all about. So, Heather, you're going to go first.
Oh, gosh.
I'm going to ask you... Anxiety starts.
Seriously, it was spiked. No, it's fine. I'm good. I'm totally fine.
So it's not really a question. It's kind of an essay answer. So I want to ask you guys, Heather, what character in Star Wars would you love to be in real Star Wars, and why? Like if you were living in universe.
In universe. So
right. What character would you like to be, and why?
Character, or one that I have made up in my mind that I want to be, or both?
No, let's go with actual character.
Okay. If I could be an actual character in the Star Wars universe, who would I be?
No.
Who would it be?
I mean, oh gosh. Oh man, that's really hard. I don't know if I've ever been asked that question before.
It's funny because sometimes when I play with my Saber Forge lightsaber, it's one of the things that I know when my time comes to meet the maker, I'm going to put that in I'm going to hold that with me, but in the retirement home, I'll probably be that old guy with the lightsaber that everybody is afraid to go with. But
don't talk to that guy. He's a little. Well, I mean, it's difficult because there's a lot about Padme that I really respect. If you ignore the whole Anakin romance situation.
After Attack of Clones.
Yeah. So I mean, the political side of it, I relate to her a lot. I feel like she handles herself very well between, being a woman and being someone in in an official capacity, which I think in the animated series we get a much better fleshed out story of her. And so I think if I can't be a Jawa, I mean, that's kind of play with droids all day would be ideal.
Sure.
And since I can't be R2,
or you could handle the Razor Crest in no time, you know.
I'm just saying. I feel I just my heart, I have a soft spot for Padme, and it's not just the wardrobe. It really is. I think, you know, outside of the whole mind control things with Palpatine and, you know, awkward love story aside, I just like her as a character. I think she's not unwilling to do the hard work when it needs to be done. I think she respects the people that are around her. And I think she makes some really good decisions within difficult situations. And I love her compassion for her people, for her handmaidens. She's very aware of the position she puts them in every day, things of that nature, like from some of the things we've seen. So I guess that's going to be my answer. Yeah.
No, that's a good choice for coming up with it on the spot. I know you said you've never been asked that, but you know, Star Wars is replete with great characters, let alone great female characters. So that is fantastic. I would accept that answer, Heather.
Okay, great. Because the non-official character that I would choose to be is I would be like the kooky historian who has like a museum with all of like the artifacts and things, and I teach people of the Jedi and the Sith and the history, and I'm kind of kooky, little Maz in nature, that kind of thing. Oh, I could be Maz too.
Yeah.
No,
you could, yes.
still. All right, I'm done.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Heather, please make a selection from anyone in the chat, and that would be the winner of the child custom-made little crochet little dude.
Baby.
Little baby.
Baby.
Let's see. I am going to go with, oh gosh, sorry. I almost hit a button that I shouldn't have hit. I would have just. That was awkward. All right, so I want to make sure that I've visually seen all of the people involved so that I don't
Sure.
miss anybody. All right, I'm gonna go with Cam Ray.
Cam Ray. Excellent. Cam Ray, you are the lucky winner of this little guy.
Oh, baby.
Baby Yoda. I'm sorry, the child. Excellent. We got one more to give away, and Todd, that task goes to you as far as picking another winner on tonight's broadcast. So, again, same question, Todd. What character in Star Wars in universe would you love to be, and why?
Can I answer? I'm going to answer this like two parts. So if I was like,
we're such complicated guests.
I know. Now I feel like Aaron, like with the Twitter polls, he's like, well,
yeah.
I'm not going to pick any of these answers, but I'm going to do this. If I was going to like be like a normal Joe, I would definitely be like a bounty hunter because I want my own ship. I want to do my own job and, you know, kind of customize not only my look, but also my ship's look. I think that would be like a freelance kind of, you know, bounty hunter, a little bounty hunter, but, you know, something like a freelance pilot, I think would be fantastic. If I had to pick, though, like a particular character in Star Wars, it would be hands down Qui-Gon Jinn. Because I felt like
good one.
He got it. He's the first one to break the code. He's the first one to break the matrix and figure out how to be himself in the afterlife, crack the code. I think he understood the Force like none of the other Jedis did, and he was a little maverick, which I like. I like the sass that he gave back to Padme. I mean, he knew right away, straight up, she was the queen, and still was like talking to her like, I don't care who you are, I'm doing this thing, and this boy's the boy's the angle. And he also was really into history and the prophecies, and kind of learned that a little bit about the books, and that's why he latched on to Anakin, because he already knew what the prophecies were. And so he's not only a student, but also somebody that is very practical. Like I really felt like too, like when he came back to the Jedi Council, it's like, these old dudes haven't been out in this temple in like 20 years, and he's out there like living life and teaching life. And I think that's really I really gravitate towards that. Like, don't just say it, but also practice it. And I think he really kind of exemplified that. And that's why I really like Qui-Gon Jinn.
Excellent answer. Yes, great answer. Qui-Gon Jinn is a very interesting character. We had that discussion on the Scarif pod a while back. What if Qui-Gon had survived and trained Anakin?
Yeah,
if
right.
How would have his choices been different instead of being taught by Obi-Wan? So yeah, he's a very fascinating character, and it was really fantastic to see his character reappear in the animated series and the Clone Wars after the fact. We got a little more of him, and obviously we got more of him with some of the newer novels that came out.
Yes.
And really enjoyed kind of seeing a little bit more of Qui-Gon and what he believed.
No spider legs for him. He didn't get any spider legs, though.
No spider legs.
He dead.
He got dead. That's too bad. But we talked to Claudia Gray a little bit about him too, and how what she thought about that. So that was a great answer, Qui-Gon Jinn, for Todd Hoffman. And let's go ahead and pick another winner for our little child crocheted custom little dude. He's so soft and cuddly.
And he's in a pod too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to have to go with Charlie Skywalker. He's blowing up the chat.
Charlie Skywalker.
He's blowing up the chat, man. So
excellent. Thank you very much for making that selection. Charlie Skywalker, through the Star Wars Through the Ages, another one of our wonderful Red 5 family members. If you guys are not familiar with Charlie, please head on down to red5network.com and check out his podcast. And you guys are there as well. Thank you guys again for joining us on our discussion on cosplay. I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot, and I'm gonna probably get some new stuff, because I got a little wall space back there. And
I was hoping you're gonna say I'm gonna pull all nighter and get that video footage from CT.
Soon, my friend. Soon.
I have to give you a hard time. You're a master of spinning plates, so that's your
plate spinner. But yes. Again, guys, thank you everybody who was in the chat, who was watching us on Twitch and on YouTube. Absolutely. And I also would love to thank our patrons. We've got a new group, the Garrison category WR-0923, otherwise known as William. Thank you very much for...
He has his own serial number?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, right. Thank you very much for supporting us on the Garrison level. Another Garrison level supporter, Matt Vader 74 of Salty Nerd podcast fame. Thank you very much, Matt, for supporting the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. We got our friends Joey Rosales, Nicholas Schaefer, Hyperspace and Holocrons, and Jay Drunk 3PO, who also supports us as a Scuttle Buddy. Thank you, everyone. Again, if you guys are familiar with our show, thank you very much for supporting the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. If you guys have any messages or any voicemails you guys want to leave us, we love listening to your voicemails. We love to hear what's on your mind. Give us a call at 773-234-8659.
Operators are standing by, right, bro?
Operators are standing by 24 hours a day. We have the Red 5 network media center that
I was going to say, is that the media center?
Fully staffed. There you go.
Fully
staffed
operational.
to accept your phone call and any messages. Or if you guys want to send us an email, send us an email at scarifscuttlebutt@gmail.com. Guys, where can the folks find you on the interwebs? Heather?
Yeah, if you want to follow me personally, I'm at Hawk Awesome on the Instagram and the Twitter. Oh, there might be an underscore in one of those.
Underscore. Yeah, there's
It's,
one.
Yeah.
Underscore
sorry.
on the Instagram.
It's Instagram is Hawk _ Awesome. And then Twitter is Hawk Awesome. Yeah.
Excellent. Todd?
Personally, you can follow me at Tizod, TI4ZOD. If you want to find out all the craziness that's going on at WSTR Galactic Public Access, you can follow us at WSTR Media. And that is on the Instagram, the Facebook, the Twitter. One podcast is not enough for me, so I have another podcast with my son Trent, and that's Big T Little T Podcast. You can find that on Instagram and Twitter. I'm the social guy. I run all the socials, so that's the man behind.
Steal it.
Sometimes Heather steals it. She does steal it every once in a while. She'll pop in, but yeah,
Excellent.
I'm the man behind the curtain on that kind of stuff. So yeah, we talk all kinds of stuff. We love being part of the Red 5 network. It's a fun little group, and so we're really proud of that and really happy to be on your show tonight, Ro. Thank you so much. It's been always a pleasure. I love learning about nerds and getting familiar with other people about this crazy thing that we love, which is Star Wars. So it definitely
is Red 5 Network. If you're not familiar, head on over to the website red5network.com, where you will find the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast and WSTR, along with a lot of other podcasts that
amazing shows.
are amazing content creators. We've got the Salty Nerd podcast. We've got Charlie Skywalker. We've got we also have besides our Red Squadron, we've got Gold Squadron. So there's quite a few of us that are creating content for all of you folks.
Soon we're gonna have a green squadron, a blue squadron.
Definitely.
We're gonna have all yellow squadron. We're gonna have
every color of the rainbow. But thank you guys again for joining us on this Scarif Live here on the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast, where it's always sunny on Scarif. And thank you very much, sir, for that Blackboard message. Thank you so much. This is Ro from the Scarif podcast signing off with our friends Heather and Todd from WSTR Galactic Public Access. And that is the Scuttlebutt.